Hi, my name is Gareth Carr. I teach in the Built Environment section of the School of Applied Sciences, Computing and Engineering. I'm here to talk today about the programmes that we offer in the built environment. My background is architecture.
Hi, I'm Dave Cheesbrough. I'm Programme Leader for Construction Management. Before I came to Wrexham Glasgow University, I was a builder and property developer.
We've got the marketing team with us today, so if you want to type in any questions that you have in particular, then you can do that by typing Ask a Lecturer at Glasgow Uni, and we'll try best to answer the questions, and contact details on the website anyway if you want to pursue anything further.
And to get things going, I think we've got some questions that we've already had.
Yeah, so to start off today, I think we've got a few questions about the real estate management degree. For people who are looking to study this course, what can they expect to cover?
Well, first of all, I'd like to point out that real estate is actually the proper legal term for land and property here in the UK. It's not just an American term that you hear on the shows. When you study this course, you'll be looking at land, buildings, you'll be working out how to do valuations, perhaps for legal purposes or for sale, perhaps advising clients on investments and ownership of land and buildings.
Yeah, I think the course is quite a broad course. The word real relates to land, and therefore anything that concerns sort of real property like that is covered in the programme. Land from an investment point of view is increased in value by the production of buildings. So we look at the markets that operate within the property sectors and how the process of development takes place to get perhaps from a greenfield site through to a facility that's up and running. So that's the sort of flavour of the sort of subject matter that we cover on the real estate degree.
Okay, great. Next question. Does someone need a real estate degree to become an estate agent?
You don't. Surprisingly, you can become an estate agent with no qualifications. However, the best estate agents are qualified and members of the professional body. You've probably heard of the RICS. That's the main professional body. Our body is the CIOB, the Chartered Institute of Builders, and they fully recognise the course here. It's also worth pointing out that in Wrexham I think there are 11 estate agents, and in 6 of them they have a graduate of ours working there. So I think the course is pretty good, it's well applied, and it'll give you the skills you need.
It's interesting, those skills in this sort of sector, because of the nature of property. It has to be designed, constructed, managed when it's finished. So there's a diverse range of skills required in sort of the estate agency business. Buildings are new build in that context, but the other context, of course, is existing buildings. So estate agents and those qualifying on the real estate degree will need to understand how buildings are refurbished, as well as how new buildings are constructed. So it's the management of those processes, and particularly understanding the legal contexts involved in the design, construction, sale and operation of building fabric like that. So it's quite a diverse course, really.
Okay, great. And for people who haven't applied yet but would like to study real estate management, what are the entry requirements for them, and will work experience be considered as part of that?
Well, there's a number of ways onto the programme. I suppose the normal way, if you like, is through UCAS, and if you're a school leaver you'll acquire a certain number of UCAS points, and we ask for 112 UCAS points for entry onto this course. That will get you in at first year, what we call level 4, and you'll study for 3 years full time and come out with an honours degree in real estate management. If you don't have those A-levels and ASs or baccalaureate or any other similar qualification, then we do like to talk to you, and we will take into account experience within the industry, not just as an estate agent, but anything you may have done that shows an interest in the property market. And also from this year we have a foundation year programme, which is for those people who may have left school with few or no traditional qualifications. So the answer is, come along and talk to us, and we'll try and advise you as best we can where you might fit into the programme.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, as Dave explained, students come through the traditional UCAS route. We've also got quite a large number of students who come through the experiential route. So if you've worked in construction or the real estate or the construction management process, but you don't have the piece of paper or the qualifications that you might need, then we have mature students with that experience in the absence of sort of formal qualifications like that, because we think that enriches the programme really to have a range of student backgrounds, because within each cohort a variety of students bring sort of quite a healthy environment of discussion and contribution. So the wider breadth of experience that we have in our classes, the better really. So that's a valuable contribution that students make towards the student experience because of the things that they already know about construction. What happens sometimes though is that we have students who perhaps come straight from sixth form, who are perhaps good at the English, good at the academic skills, but have limited experience of the construction sector. But then alternatively we have students who are perhaps a bit older, have worked in the industry, but perhaps have lost some of those academic skills that they did have in the past perhaps, or that it might be a bit rusty in terms of report writing and sort of basic maths and things like that. So we find that within the peer group as well, the student peer learning opportunities contribute quite a lot to the feel of the class and to the atmosphere within sort of a mixed cohort of students like that. So anybody who perhaps thinks that, well, because I don't have the number of UCAS points or the formal qualifications, I'm not going to get onto the course, come and talk to us, as Dave says, because we can put in place the learning curve, if you like, for students to start to develop themselves from where they are at the moment. And as Dave said, if the student isn't completely satisfied with sort of starting at year one, then the foundation year is a really good opportunity because that builds a bit of confidence as well then.
We're really much more interested in your experience and your potential rather than what piece of paper you bring with you.
So yeah, it's important, I think.
Okay, great. Just following on from that actually, we've had a question from someone who currently works for a council but they'd like to pursue a career in lettings and property management. They've got a foundation degree in management and business, but they'd like to convert this into a property degree, if that's possible.
Okay. Well, by having the foundation degree, you've already proved that you can learn to the levels of the university. Within that business foundation degree, there are going to be a lot of transferable skills that can be taken over, not perhaps just to real estate, but to almost any of our programs. What we would do in that particular case is invite that potential student to come in and have a chat with us, identify those skills, and then do what we call a mapping exercise. We want to see where your skills match the skills that we teach on this real estate management course. At that point then we'll be able to show you where on the course you'll be able to start, whether it's full-time, part-time, whatever suits, and then advise you on which of the modules, our modules here at the university, that you'll need to complete to move on.
So, yeah, I think that's another important point, is that some of the transferable skills, as Dave mentioned, are important because, of course, real estate, construction management, these are businesses. So if you have a background in the commercial side or in the sort of functional business requirements of being a limited company, perhaps, the student will already be familiar with tort, crime, breach of contract, the legal terms that sort of exist in industry and in the context of construction and development and real estate. Again, the student will bring to the cohort a lot of good, valuable information. That will contribute to the classes as well. So that's some of the benefits of having sort of a qualification that isn't quite the same, but there will be gaps in the educational learning curve, if you like, that we'd have to fill with the technicalities which are specific to construction and development and real estate. So it would be a good basis to move from a business qualification to a real estate or a construction or an architectural qualification, because quite a lot of the underpinning development legal side will already be familiar to the candidate.
Great. We've touched on a couple of careers already in some of your answers, but what careers are available for people who've completed this degree?
Well, you'll have a very broad-ranging education in property and property matters. So as well as estate agency, which is the one we've already covered, you could easily end up working for our local government as a property surveyor. The National Valuations Agency also takes graduates, and that will use the skills that you've learned in valuing and appraising buildings. Property development is another one. I know it may be a bit of a dirty word following some of the TV programmes that we're all subjected to. But yeah, it's a really good way to make a living, to make money, and it can be very satisfying in turning around old or underused buildings.
So yeah, I think there are two environments really. There's the natural environment and the urban environment, and what happens when development happens, of course, most often is that perhaps in simple terms, countryside turns into town. Now that's a very major thing to contemplate in terms of the UK and Great Britain being quite a small island really. So land is precious. So the market forces on that land and the need for the design of buildings to work and function properly towards proper property investment, to generate wealth is really important. But the other side of that, and part of that, of course, is the social side as well. Housing is a particular sort of area that requires certain skills in terms of the managerial side. Not only do we have buildings, we have sort of civil engineering infrastructure that has to provide roads and facilities and energy and drainage and water supply to all these properties as well. So the range of skills and opportunities within the industry is immense. It's a very broad range. So what you might find is if you join one of the programs that we offer in this department, you might find a particular aspect of it particularly interesting, and that's sort of the route that you'll pursue. So the breadth of opportunity within the industry is really quite comprehensive, and that's sort of a personal journey that the student has to decide what they're interested in and sort of pursue that as a career path, and of course we try and facilitate every opportunity for them to do that.
Okay, great. More generally, across all of the built environment courses that we offer, what industry links do these courses provide for students?
Well, we have a number of links with industry here within North Wales and nationally. For instance, our construction management course, we have links with volume house builders, with infrastructure developers, ground workers and so on. Architectural practices also work with us to provide perhaps guest lecturers. The real estate is heavily linked with estate agents and local governments here, local authorities here in North Wales. But yeah, we design our courses with the help of the local employers, and in that way we're fairly confident that once you've studied, once you've learned, once you've got your degree, you'll be highly employable.
Yeah, I think it's the nature of the courses that we run. The basic nature is that we are servicing an industry, and therefore we have to work very closely with industry and the professional bodies that exist within the construction industry, so that the students that we produce and the students that sort of succeed, to their full potential are those that are then very employable within the industry. So it helps the quality of the programme and the contents of the programme. It also helps the students in terms of their own sort of career and employment opportunities if we work as closely as we can with industry. So we've got aspects of guest speakers coming in from contractors to talk us through projects they've recently completed perhaps. We have site visits that visit specific ongoing projects, and there's a bit of variety in that because after a year or two the project is finished and they get on board with a different project, so that brings in a bit of variety into the curriculum as well. And students go to site and see what a project manager does on site, sees what a health and safety representative does on site, and that brings some reality into the more academic side of the courses that we run, so that's really important. And the other thing really is industrial placements. We as a teaching team work closely with members of the industry and the professional bodies and architects, practices, contractors. But if we can place students within those environments as well, even a week would give a particular student a real opportunity to get to grips with the real world in terms of what's happening out there in the industry. So through placements, potential recruitment, we get approached by contractors and design offices asking us would anybody be interested in working for them when job opportunities crop up. We can't recommend individuals, but we certainly let every student know that an opportunity exists, and those who are interested then can pursue that. And of course we'd support them in that if we could.
Okay, great. For anyone who is thinking about studying one of these courses but they might not feel confident enough about studying at a degree level, what options are open for them?
Right, well, confidence is a really important word in education, because a lot of students a year in, I think, surprise themselves in terms of what they've done. When you've gone through an academic year and you collect all your work together, you know, and look at it sort of as a pile of work in terms of drawings, technical reports, sort of research, academic writing, things like that, it arrives at quite a substantial piece of time and effort, and so confidence develops with that. So we look for the potential in students to develop that to begin with. From day one, it's okay to make mistakes. You know, you learn from your mistakes. In fact, making mistakes is a really important part of the learning process. If you're finding things really easy and straightforward, then you're probably not learning stuff. So when we find students are challenged a bit, then we try and encourage them, because that is the point of being here, really, is to learn from your experience, make a mistake and move on from it, because that's a genuine sign that you're learning stuff and you're picking up on stuff. So that's really important.
Don't forget, we've got a number of ways that you can join the courses. I did mention earlier the foundation years, so they are designed specifically to give you the skills that you'll need to succeed. And one of the first things that we will teach you is how to write. So if you've perhaps not learned or not done well at your writing, or perhaps you haven't done it for a while, you're returning to learning, then yeah, come and see us. Talk to us about foundation year, and let's see how it goes for you.
Yeah, and that sort of confidence, I know you won't be the first student to stare at a blank sheet of paper for 3 days. Right? We've all done that, and it still happens sometimes. But you get to the point where, okay, you stare at a piece of paper and think, oh, what can I write, what can I write, what can I write, or what, you know, how can I research this, or what can I do to start this process off? You have to do that. If that's part of your own sort of technique learning stuff, stare at that piece of paper. But it gets your thought processes going. Then you write something, and perhaps it's not very good, perhaps, but then you put it down and you come back to it, you improve it. But by then, you don't even realise it sometimes. You are actually up and running with it. So don't worry about sort of staring blankly into space sometimes because you don't know what to do next. You know, that sometimes it's part of the learning process. So that's really important.
Okay, great. Just moving on to some questions about our construction management degree. What do I need entry requirement wise to be able to apply for this course? Also, would I be able to do this course as a mature student, and how would that work on a part-time basis?
Okay, what you need is enthusiasm. If you've got some experience in construction, that's great. If you've got some qualifications in relevant subjects, that's also great. But we've taken a number of students before now from the site who have been tradesmen as opposed to managers, because upskilling these days is almost essential. Without that right piece of paper, you'll find that your employer will be looking past you and taking people who perhaps don't have the practical skills and knowledge that you yourself do have. So again, come and talk to us. You know, your skills are valuable, your knowledge is valuable. Part-time, we have a number of students who join us each year at each level part-time, and your part-time studies will be arranged so that you'll be here at the university for 1 day each week. It's a full day, and you'll study 4 topics most years, so you're going to be here from 9 till 5. But that leaves the rest of your time either to work for yourself, for your employer, or perhaps for family commitments. So that 1 day a week is what we look for.
So, yeah, I think we have students as well, some full-time students who get employment sort of part way through the course, and that's, you know, that's a really sort of career-changing moment for a student sometimes, because they then simply transfer to the part-time version of the programme without losing out on anything time-wise. So we are, as I said, really, we constantly sort of approached every year by potential employers for students, and if they take the opportunity and are successful in applying for a post like that, they can simply transfer from the full-time programme to the part-time programme and study a day release. So they mesh together quite well. So that's constructive for a lot of our students.
Yeah, very helpful.
Okay, we've had a question from someone who's been a labourer for 20 years, but they're struggling to get any further in their career due to a lack of qualifications. They want to know whether they'll be able to study for a degree.
Well, I think we just mentioned that those people looking to upskill are more than welcome, and we've got some real success stories students who've come to us and had a lot of added value, as we might call it. They've learned a lot and gone out and got into some very good jobs indeed. I can't promise, but come and talk to us. Yeah, if you've got the enthusiasm, if you've got the potential, then we'll find you a place somewhere.
Yeah, and the foundation year is great for that, because sometimes we see students or potential students who we think, yeah, well, you know, you are appropriate to start the first year of the degree, and they said, no, I prefer to test myself first and see how I cope with it. So sometimes students, even though, you know, we might be happy to put them on year one of the degree, they prefer to do a year first if they've been out of education for a while, just to get the writing skills, the basic numeracy, you know, the sort of academic stuff back from perhaps from school, since they last did it maybe 10, 20 years previously. So, and again, that sort of mixture of background really contributes to the makeup of the course, and we like that. We like the variety of it.
Okay, so construction is a big industry, particularly in North Wales at the minute, with a number of big projects happening. Is this reflected in the employability of construction management graduates?
Last year and the year before, over 90% of our students went out from the course, not just into jobs, but into relevant jobs within the construction sector. And we think that's really good. That's what people come to us for, that's what they go out of. In terms of large projects around here, Swansea Barrage, Wilfer Power Station, Mersey Gateway, all those projects are coming on now. But there are also national projects which will take our students, HS2, Crossrail, all these things. There's a big shortage of skills in construction management. Yeah, this is the time.
Yeah, and what the programmes provide, of course, is for a start, that technical competency. So we are certain that our students enter the industry fully prepared for the responsibilities that they're going to carry, both sort of legally, technically, so the competence is there when they cross the stage, you know, at the graduation ceremony. The other thing that is important in construction, of course, is that none of these buildings or projects get constructed by small teams of people. You know, there are thousands of people involved in major infrastructure projects and large-scale developments like that. So part of the quality that students develop, if they haven't got it already, and most of them do, is to have those people skills and sort of people management skills that are essential to things like health and safety on site. You know, the industry is a very dangerous industry. There are many risks in many sort of aspects of it, and students therefore leave our programmes with a good understanding of where they fit in and where their responsibilities lie in terms of working with others, you know, to provide a safe, quality and sort of economically viable contribution to the industry, really. So the people skills as well as the technical skills are really important.
You've just mentioned technical skills. Someone's asking, is the course very practical based, or is it more theory work?
What we try to do really in designing the programmes is to get a full range of various experiences for the student, and some of these things are really important in terms of some subjects are quite academic, I suppose, in inverted commas, where you have to research, you have to sort of digest information, you have to draw your own conclusions, express your own opinions, things like that. Other subjects, though, are much more practical in terms of the sorts of tasks that we ask students to undertake. The site appraisal module requires sort of hands-on surveying with sort of optical equipment and digital equipment. Before we can design or construct any buildings or infrastructure, we have to understand how the lie of the land works, you know, the levels, the orientation of and the physical features of land. So there's a bit of practical work in the surveying. Other practical work involves the science and materials modules, where you will be in the laboratory, we'll be crushing concrete, stretching steel, we'll be looking at the numbers on that as well then, and seeing what's going on when that cube of concrete fails under load. The practical aspect of materials technology is important. Other practical tasks will include AutoCAD and sort of drawing on 3D software, but sometimes you can't beat the cardboard model sort of knocked together like a sketch, like you'd sketch on paper. You can sketch with models as well, and that might be taking a bit of rubbish out of a bin and turn it into a concept for a building. So we try and get as much sort of hands-on stuff as we can, but that then is balanced then by the more sort of academic skills that are necessary as well. So again, students leave us with quite a mix, quite a nice mix of personal skills like that.
Okay. And is there a postgraduate option available in construction management?
There's no recognised masters within the built environment. What we find is our students go on, once they've got a job and they've got probably 2 years of relevant experience in management positions, they'll be applying for full chartered membership of the relevant professional body. So that's the Chartered Institute of Building or the Chartered Institute for Architectural Technologists. And that tends to be the postgraduate route that most suits our students.
Yeah. The university does offer MPhil and PhD opportunities. That arrives at our department if that's appropriate, but that's a different sort of route of application really through the postgraduate side of the university. But there's information on that on the website. If anybody had a subject that they were interested and qualified and were eligible to start an MPhil, then that's something that we could potentially supervise within the department. But no sort of formal taught master's programs at the moment.
Okay, thank you. Just moving on to a few questions about the Architectural Design Technology course. How does this course differ from a traditional architecture degree?
So, well, I think that it's explained really in the titles of those programs. If you do a degree in architecture, then the emphasis is usually on conceptual design and the sort of theory of architecture in its purest sense. Our programme deals with architecture, design and technology. So the driving forces behind the ADT programme are those that produce buildings which function properly, which keep the weather out, keep the heat in, have a small or hopefully zero carbon footprint. So they have to be efficient in their use. So these sorts of technical requirements are the foundation stone really of our ADT programmes. But having said that, you will do some architecture, you'll do bits of history, you'll do bits of sort of theoretical architecture in terms of proportion and scale and the development of architecture over the centuries, you know, which is like a tapestry really of history. But we spend a lot of time producing buildings that will function properly, satisfy the requirements of the eventual owner, and be nice places to be in, to live in, to work in, you know, in terms of the quality of those buildings as well.
One of the real benefits of studying the design technology course instead of pure architecture is that you will work with students on the other programmes. So you will come out with a really good knowledge of construction management as well, and that will enable you to not only design buildings, but design buildings that can actually be built and function properly.
Okay, great. An important factor for a lot of people is whether a course is accredited or not. Is this degree accredited by anyone?
So, yes, the degree is accredited by the Chartered Institute of Architectural Technologists, and therefore, when a student graduates with an ADT degree from Wrexham University, the student is able to demonstrate that they have fulfilled the requirements at that stage of that institution. The way that works is that the institution visits us and requires us to go through certain processes to demonstrate the quality and the standards of our provision. So what industry requires is provided by us because the CIAT accredits our programme. So that's really valuable to us because students, you know, in the competitive world that is beyond sort of undergraduate programmes, the more pieces of paper you have that demonstrate your competence and particularly your technical competence in the industry, the better. So the CIT is very important in overseeing the quality of the work that we do in sort of facilitating this programme for the students, and it's the only accredited CIAT programme in Wales at the moment. So you know, we are quite unique in that respect.
Okay. What technology or design software will students use on this course?
Well, we have the standard sort of range requirements of sort of Microsoft Office or general word processing, PowerPoint. There are some presentations that are required of students. So the basic sort of Office type software, if you're competent with that, then you know that's a good start. If you're not competent with it or not confident with it, then we can put sort of support sessions in place to bring you up to speed with that. Again, that might relate sometimes to the student experience. If an older student is coming back into education, then perhaps they might not be as familiar with the software as students who are a bit younger perhaps. And then there's the specialist software. Then we've got the AutoCAD software. We start off with SketchUp, which has got a basic 3D package which allows architectural students to mess about with shapes really, which is an important part of the early conceptual stage. Then we sort of move up to the AutoCAD and the Revit type software, which is industry standard, much more powerful in terms of what it can do, and that type of software leads into the building information modelling type software, which industry requires now in order to coordinate the design and construction project. And other peripheral stuff as well, like technical indexes. We have access to all the standards and legislation and official guidance that industry has, because our library subscribes to the Technical Indexes Service. So that information is really valuable for students, because that's the authoritative technical stuff that is produced by government, industry, and of course that feeds into our curriculum, the subject matter that we cover.
Someone's been in touch that has been away from education for a number of years working in industry, but they're worried that university life might not be for them. They want to know, do you offer any taster sessions?
We don't have a specific taster session for each particular programme. What we tend to try and do is to cater for the potential students that have applied to us in each particular year, and we can design events around their needs. So it may be, oh, come along and sit in on a lecture. We work closely with schools and colleges in the local area as well. It may be better for a potential student to attend one of those type of events.
So, yeah, I think it's important that what drives us really is what's best for the individual student, and there's a word in education which is differentiation, and that's really important, to differentiate particular student needs at particular stages in their career. So we try to talk to students and understand where they've been, where they are, and where they want to go to, and then sort of put in place suggestions that will help facilitate their progress. So in that respect, we're not selfish about that. We don't want all our students to come all onto our course all the time, whatever. It's the student that's the most important thing in the whole process. And if we think perhaps the best advice is to suggest that the student doesn't start our degree yet, then that's best for the student. That's what drives it really.
Okay. And finally, what have past students from this course gone on to do after they've graduated?
Well, we have a number of students working in a large variety. I mentioned earlier one or two of the opportunities from real estate. One of our recent graduates from the construction management degree is now running a multi-million-pound project in Saudi. We have students working, both ADT and construction management students, working for local volume house builders, local authorities, public-private sector.
So yeah, I think what's interesting about the architectural course in particular is that it's a reasonably straightforward to set up your own business having graduated from Glyndŵr University, because you can set up as an architectural practice, perhaps working on your own PC at home, take on small scale projects, maybe kitchen extensions, bathroom extensions. Then you get some experience of sort of meeting clients and deciding what the clients require, and then producing the technical drawings and the planning permissions and the building control approval that those types of developments require. Then in 2 years' time you might think, well, I'll tell you what, I'll actually take on my first whole house now and design that from scratch. And before you know it, you might be employing staff and running a very successful business. So the ADT programme in particular gives opportunities of self-employment like that. And I mentioned planning and building control there briefly. These are other peripheral areas, that they're the two major permissions that you need to develop in this country, planning and building control approval. So a degree in any of our programmes really will sort of feed into those areas of the professions and industry as well. So it's quite a mixture of opportunities.
Okay, thank you both. That's all of our questions this afternoon. Thanks for taking
Okay,
part.
so we'd like to thank you for joining us today, and I hope it's been informative and maybe helpful to you in making some decisions. If you want to know more about any of the courses that we do, go to the website, go to glyndŵr.ac.uk, or get in touch with the admissions team, enquiries@glyndŵr.ac.uk. Can I also point out that if you're working in the relevant sectors, there are other courses within our portfolio for those who might be working for civil engineers or in housing. Again, visit the website, give us a call.
Yeah, good luck and work hard.